Hi, everybody, and we are back with another interesting talk and a session with somebody who is really, really very interesting and doing amazing work. And I welcome Nina Chaya on this particular segment that we are doing. And the segment is all about online games and the world of this gaming industry that he's into for a long, long time. Let me quickly introduce Nina, then going on to Hemant after that, which is from my team. So Nina is now the co-founder and COO of Go Digital at Wits Interactive. They mainly focus on gaming, VR, AR, AI, and have been listed in the top 25 mobile marketing leaders in the industry. And we're extremely privileged to have him on board today. Ninad also happens to be one of the consultants that we've been working with, in fact, an advisory with us on in the space of online gaming. His contributions have been amazing, and he's been also. And we'll all hear him throughout this session, and we'll be able to interact with him much, much more. Welcome, Hemant. Hemant is also a trustee at Ahan Foundation, and he and I together will be chairing this session. So today's discussion is all about the world of online gaming, what therefore parents, kids need to be doing, and we are going to get it from the gaming guru who's with us, is Ninad. And I would like to begin this session with Ninad, on really how did you get into this world of gaming? Because I think when you started, it must be something least heard of by people. So what triggered it off?
First off, thank you, Sonali and Hemant, for having me today. It's always a pleasure being a part of any activity which a responsible netizen does. And when it comes to gaming, yes, it's kind of always fun to talk about gaming. To answer your question, how I got into gaming, well, like every kid today or even back when I was growing up, I was fond of playing games. When I was growing up, there were not many avenues of playing games. And either you had to go to a video game arcade, or you need to have a PC, or in those days, whatever the gaming consoles were there, or needed to have a rich friend who had all those, and then you could go and play games at his or her house. For me, the gaming part came about when I think I was 5 or 6 years old, and my mama took me to a video game arcade, and he said, "Well, take a look." And I think that's when I got hooked onto gaming. I heard those uh, fun noises, even though the graphics back then were not as hyper realistic as today, there were 8-bit graphics, but the movements happening on the screen and the ability to control those characters kind of got me hooked onto gaming. And as I grew up, the curiosity also grew. And I think it was a matter of my passion becoming a profession. So while I was playing games all through my school and college years, I kept on wondering, what is it? I mean, there's somebody out there making those games which I enjoy playing. So how can I make these games, which hopefully, if not me, at least somebody else can enjoy playing? Because I mean, the most important part is the fun part. And so that's how the whole gaming thing came about, where we started building games just for fun. And sooner than I knew it, I was a co-founder of India's first gaming company, India Games. And this was way back in
Wow.
1998, 99 timeframe, when not many people knew about the gaming industry in India. There were only a
Absolutely.
handful of people in gaming in India. But it was a good time. It was good fun, trying to understand what gaming was, how it can help, and cut to 2020 now, almost 21 years later, and it's still fun to see how gaming has evolved both globally and in India as an industry.
Absolutely. I can imagine what it must have been when you were so young, and there's absolutely no exposure to what this world is all about. So what do you currently do? I'm sure people are really wanting to know what this Go Digital and Wits Interactive all about. If you can quickly tell us what you're currently into, we can then move on.
Sure. So Wits Interactive is a design tech agency. We have been around for almost 20 years now. Started off in the Web 1.0 days, building websites for SMEs and any corporate houses wanting to create a presence in the internet. So this was almost 95, 96 time frame when Wits 1.0 was started. The idea back then was the internet was a new phenomenon in India, and people wanted to explore that. And we, as a design and technology house, we thought, hey, how can we leverage this new medium? And over the years, we have evolved to becoming a full-fledged design tech agency where all our technology solutions have a very strong design thinking approach. Go Phygital was something which we carved out as a niche vertical around 3.5, 4 years ago, when we saw that the next level of engagement when it comes to consumer engagement, or even any enterprise wanting to engage with their stakeholders, is going to be immersive technologies. And that's where the whole idea of Go Phygital came about, where businesses today have a physical presence and a digital presence. And very often the user is interacting with both these modes of presence, both in the physical domain and digital domain. Through technology, the idea or the endeavor is how can we bridge the gap and help businesses go phygital. And that's how the whole phygital term came about, where we leverage technologies like augmented reality, virtual reality, AI, ML, to create bespoke solutions which can help businesses meet across functions like marketing, advertising, branding, training. And that's how the whole business objective of Go Phygital is about, that helping businesses leverage the technology to offer a better experience to its stakeholders.
Wow. And I think we've recently come up with something on COVID-19 also. If you can just quickly share about that.
Sure. So as a company, we try to do something new and innovative all the time. The whole idea is how can we be ahead of the curve? And the weapons we have are design and technology. So we worked with one of our long-standing client partners, Ipca Laboratories, to create a web-based self-assessment tool to gauge your risk exposure to the COVID-19 virus. And this is basically a set of questions which have been created based on the guidelines offered by the World Health Organization and the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare. And as you take this test, it kind of gauges your exposure. So if you have, and we ask, right, starting with basic questions like what is your age, do you have cough, to have you been exposed to somebody with this disease, and at the end you give a result which the algorithm at the back end creates, and you kind of understand what your risk exposure to it is. We saw that this was a big success, but at the same time, one of the bigger challenges which has been around for COVID-19 also is all the fake news and misinformation which is going about. And so we created another platform called Coronavirus Mythbusters, where we're trying to dispel all the myths and misbeliefs around coronavirus. So some people say taking steam will help you get rid of coronavirus. Well, it will not. It will help you kind of clear your nasal passage, but it will not kill the virus. So we created a whole set of those aspects. And as it grew, we got a lot of positive feedback. The feedback we also got was, how do we convey the seriousness of this pandemic to kids? And last week we released a video based on an IP which we have in the early education space. So we have this platform to teach early education kids, so preschool kids, English using augmented reality and gamification. And we have two characters, cartoonish characters, Ben and Bella. So we created this video with Ben and Bella teaching kids how to protect themselves from coronavirus. And it's a 5-step rule saying hands. So wash your hands, avoid shaking hands with others, do the dab when you sneeze, take exercise. So, and that's kind of got a lot of feedback both from parents and the other guardians of all these kids that, hey, this is a nice, fun way to tell kids. I mean, because there's a lot of fear also going on about coronavirus, that how dangerous it is. Well, it is dangerous, but if you take proper care, you can kind of avoid a lot of things. And just today, in fact, we release a WhatsApp-based chatbot, which again, you can get information about coronavirus. And we have just launched the self-assessment tool, which we had online, onto chatbot as well. So yeah, we've been busy doing some fun stuff, building solutions which people can relate to.
Wow, amazing. I've seen that video for kids and it's done so well. I think that's the way to communicate with kids. Wonderful. So there's been lot of new things coming up, and this space is very different because there is so much newness into it, and there's so much fun that can be also involved into creating and for people who are using it as well. So now moving on to our actual discussion on what we're here today for.
Sure.
My question to you is, you've been in this industry of online gaming for almost 2 decades now. So what is your take on the current gaming fraternity or current gaming industry that in India for now?
I think what we've seen in the past few years is that the gaming industry has evolved significantly, uh, be it from a quality of content development, so the quality of games which are being made, or the approach to gaming as a business. I mean, back when I started off, I mean, we made games for fun. It was only later that we realized that, oh, games need to make money also, right? So the idea was that how do you kind of, but the current generation of game developers is amazing. I mean, met quite a few of these guys, and I know I sound really old when I say the current generation of game developers. Uh, but the amount of clarity they have as an approach to making games, even from a production quality perspective or a monetization perspective, is brilliant. And there are some really international quality games now being made out of India. The other thing which I've seen is, for a very long time, services was a primary driver when it came to game development. And I think even from an animation point of view, that was a case for a long time. But the past few years, it has been a different take, where people are investing in creating their own IP. They are building products which are now published globally. And that's also thanks to the App Store and the Play Store, that we got a marketplace to launch our games globally. The penetration of mobile phones, the smartphones out there, and what we call in the gaming or even the content space as the geo hockey stick curve, where once the bandwidth opened up, I think that is what was a big game changer after the smartphone revolution, that the bandwidth really opened up and helped people create content without thinking about, okay, what if my audience is not able to consume this content on limited bandwidth. So the industry has evolved, and I think we are just at the beginning. I mean, there's a lot more to come uh, going forward in the days to come.
Bilkul, bilkul. Hemant also belongs to the same space of animation and design and creation, and he also has the same thing to say. Hemant, any thoughts on that?
Yeah, actually, what he said, on top of it, we need the content, because now the demand has increased, and there is no such kind of content like a non-violent game or social kind of game is not there. So actually, this is a once the bandwidth uh, helped out, like, it is always going to help the people to generate new IPs, new content regarding the nice online games and something like that.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, any specific curve that you've seen moving in the COVID-19 situation, where people are slightly more dependent, sorry, on their devices, because we're all terribly dependent on our devices now. So, any change that you've seen pre-COVID, post-COVID times on gaming, particularly?
So one of the changes we saw as an industry was obviously the time spent on gaming has significantly increased,
Okay.
because I mean, what do you do when you can't step out of the house? You either watch your OTT platforms, you binge watch on your favorite web series, or you play games. Well, I'm sure a lot of people are reading books also, but what we have seen as a trend globally was that compared to the pre-COVID era, the time spent on gaming sessions has significantly increased. And ironically, to the extent that the World Health Organization a few months ago had declared gaming as a disorder. And
Yeah,
recently, they kind of went out and said, hey, stay indoors and play games. So,
yeah,
well, that was a big change, where we kind of saw the
yeah.
World Health Organization ask people to stay indoors and play games, because, well,
Mm,
you need people to stay indoors to control the spread. And I think
absolutely.
gaming is playing its role in this whole war against the virus by making people engage and keeping them busy playing games.
Absolutely. I think this has taken a different curve altogether, where people are asked to stay indoor and play more games. Certainly, screen time has increased. उसमें तो सवाल ही नहीं, because all of us are dependent on our devices. But therefore, my question to you is there any kind of strategy in the gaming fraternity where we are now, they're going to be involved in making different kind of games that are currently existing, considering all of us are at home, and therefore any new set trends that you can see coming up in the future?
I think there have always been different kinds of games being made, Sonali. I mean, while a few handful of games come into the limelight for good or bad reasons, there have been games like Monopoly and Scrabble which have made the transition to digital long back, right? I mean, chess has been one of the most popular online games. Bridge, Solitaire, and all these games have been in the digital domain. So, but it depends on the audience. It depends on the target age group that you're targeting. So you will see a lot of kids playing games meant for kids or in popular categories like action, racing, fighting. But you'll also see slightly older gaming audience playing casual games. So casual games is one big domain which a lot of people are talking about, right? Candy Crush has been a brilliant example.
I was about to talk on that. Like there is no age limit for the Candy Crush. Like
exactly, right? I mean,
kid is also talking.
Yeah, kids from 7 years and younger. Exactly. So
in
games
fact, there are Ludo tournaments in the house.
Yeah.
Exactly, right? So you may not have a Ludo board today in the house, but I'm sure you have one of the Ludo games on your phone out there, which are out there.
And now there is a Ludo bedsheet that has come up also. Yeah, absolutely. So these are trend changes that are we've seen coming up. But I agree with you on the audience bit, because children are more inclined towards game that they're attracted towards, and everybody has some set of guidelines or some set of interest that they probably pursue. We've been working with you on this entire concept of responsible gaming, and I want you to throw some light on what this is all about.
So responsible gaming came about when we were talking on how gaming is perceived in a negative light most of the time. I mean, today, even today, when you talk to parents, their concern is kids are spending a lot of time playing games, and especially games where they may not be suitable for kids. But I think the first step towards that is where the parent really themselves hand over the device to the kid to keep them busy. So, I mean, iPads have become a digital babysitter because the parent wants to finish some work or not be disturbed in the kitchen or on dining table or on a call, right? So responsible gaming is an initiative which is needed not only from a child's perspective, but also from a parent perspective, where both the child and the parent need to be actively involved in understanding what the games are about. And parents need to spend time with the child while to also play the game which the child is playing, to understand how that game is going to affect the child. Anytime people ask me about, but how can I do that? Or I don't have time. My answer to that is, well, don't you spend time going over your child's homework? All right. Or don't you keep track of who your child is playing with on the playground? Then why not in the digital domain? Why can't you sit with the child and play the same game he or she is playing, so that you also understand what is good or bad and accordingly can guide your child? The child does not know what is good or bad at that age. It is like giving a minor the keys to your car and saying, "Ja beta, gaadi chala kara." You wouldn't do that, right? So why would you want your kid to play games which you are not aware of? So I think responsible gaming is really required, but more from a parent perspective. Children will adapt. Children see and learn. So I mean, right? I mean, my daughter sees me on my digital habits and adapts some of that. So now it is my responsibility to make sure that I pass on the good values. Not that I am successful in doing that, but one needs to try every time. So,
but my question is like, you are into game development also. So your child also follows you in that, like, or she only plays game?
Well, she is now getting interested into making games. So we have started, especially now with the past few weeks, and I've been home working from home. We have been bouncing off ideas of building a game. My wife is a technology person herself, so we kind of bounce around. What can we make? Eventually, hopefully, someday we'll end up making a game which is based on the idea which my daughter comes up with. So far, it's been more in the ideation stage. So yes, she is inclined towards getting into gaming as such. And even before the COVID era, when before the shutdown took place, it was a really proud moment when some time ago she introduced me to a friend saying, "Hey, this is my dad and he makes games for a living." And kids all the kids in the group were like, wow, okay, this is the guy to hang out with.
This is how we want our dad to be the same. No, but I totally agree with you, Ninad, in terms of what parenting roles we play here. So setting uh, some guidelines as parents ourselves is very, very critical, and it is the role of the parent to be introducing this to children. That is extremely important for a parent to understand. Unfortunately, in this space, parents are in stone age when it comes to technology, and that divide is very, very huge. So we are also looking at how we can make children far more responsible in their gaming behavior also, because there is an entire gang of peer pressure that they're facing on the other side of the fence that they have to live in. While at home you're being taught not to do this and not to do that, on the other side of the fence there is an entire pressure building up, and therefore how do kids withstand that kind of, or be slightly more resilient in that space. Also being able to wisely choose the game. So agar फोर्टनाइट पबजी या कॉल ऑफ ड्यूटी हर एक बच्चा मेरे ग्रुप में खेल रहा है और मुझे फोर्स कर रहा है खेलने के लिए, what am I going to do? Am I going to give in and therefore am I strong? And so what is your take on that? Because that is something which is very, very concerning today.
So yes, there is a lot of peer pressure, like you rightly said, and especially you see it pretty much. You used to see it a couple of months ago in every building complex. Kids would get around, like when we were small, we would get together in the ground to play actual physical games. Now you see kids hanging out together, sitting next to each other and playing games on their devices.
Yeah.
And I think peer pressure is something which needs to be dealt with across all the verticals. I mean, it's not necessarily gaming only, but yes, gaming plays a key role. But like when we were growing up, we didn't have games, but peer pressure was always there. You always wanted to hang out with the cool kids in class. Now whether they kind of wore sunglasses or whether they colored their hair, you wanted to do that. The thing again is communication, right? I mean, kids are at an age where they get influenced very easily. It is again the responsibility of the family. I would not say just parents, but there are other guardians in the household or in your neighborhood who can help you understand the good part and the bad part. And it is important to keep talking to the children on an ongoing basis. So yes, PUBG, for example, received a lot of negative publicity because people said, hey, kids are playing games and you should not play games all day long. Agreed. But then you need to tell that to the child that, hey, you know what, you can't play games all day long, or you can't watch, like we advise them or guide them in their TV watching habits.
Yeah.
Right? There has to be a digital guideline for screen time, even on mobile devices.
Yeah.
The other part is age appropriateness. Right? I mean, there have been cases where there are parents who have said, oh, my child is 8 years old and is playing PUBG. How can you guys make games like that for an 8-year-old? Well, the fact of the matter is that game is not meant for an 8-year-old. So why are you letting that child play that game? Would you let your child see an 18+ movie if that child is not 18+? So it is a two-way street. Yes, the gaming industry also needs to work closely to make sure that there are guidelines which are adhered to. But as a society, as a family, as parents, it is also the responsibility of the age-wise elder people in the house to kind of understand what are the shortcomings of some of these games and guide the child towards playing the right kind of games for that age group. So if you have a 7-8-year-old child, don't give them games which are too violent. Give them games which help them in their language learning skills or in their math. So there are a lot of games, other such games out there. Or play board games like Monopoly.
Yeah.
If you want to play it on the iPad, you can play those games also.
But Nina,
I agree. Yes, sorry.
I feel, but the parents are not that techno-savvy. So how they will come to know what is the age proprietary game? Because kids are more aware of these kind of games, and they sometimes they don't disclose also to the parents what they're playing. Mostly. So how to find out, at least for the parents also, how they can find out these things?
So, like you rightly said, Hemant, not everybody is technology savvy, right? I agree to that aspect. One of the things which you kind of need to look at is whenever you kind of are downloading games from the App Store or the Play Store, they always mention the age group for which that game is meant to be. So if as a parent you are overseeing or you are kind of making sure that your child is downloading content or you are downloading the content on your child's behalf, just look at that rating part.
Right.
The other part is when the child starts playing a game, just make sure that even if it's a age-friendly game, they don't spend more than so you need to define time limit for that. I mean, so that they don't spend more than 25 minutes or 20 minutes or 30 minutes, whatever that is. The time limit is something which you as a parent can set. But at the same time, it is also, I mean, when you read about something that in the news or when you watch it on TV that this sort of game is bad or so many people died playing this game, try if you're reading or watching such news, try to find out a bit more in detail to make sure that what you are also getting as news is a complete picture and not just a one-sided story. So yes, there have been deaths because people end up playing games for 14, 15, 16 hours without taking a break, right? Or especially when you look at people going to cyber cafes and playing for all night long sessions, they forget to drink water. But then the same would happen if you go to a gym and keep running on a treadmill for 16 hours.
Agreed.
So anything in excess is bad. Anything in moderation has to have a balanced approach and is good. So as parents, just keep a rational, open mind on looking at what is good and what is bad. And if you genuinely, yes, I mean, like cigarette smoking is bad. We know that, it's a proven fact. Likewise, too much of excess action games or violent games may have a effect on your child. Well, don't let them play those games, but then don't even let them watch too many action or violent movies. So games need to be seen as a digital content in its entirety and not just like games per se. You also need to see, okay, how non-gaming digital content also affects the child.
Absolutely. I think that is why we are having you here, Ninad, because gaming has always taken, the plague for all the negative that happens and of this world, and also a more balanced side of this world, because this is going to be here forever and probably even, get better by the day. Therefore, the role of parents here is to critically pick up early signs of any kind of dependency.
Sure.
तो ये शुरू होता है जब बच्चा 8वीं में जाता है, तभी नहीं शुरू होता है. This really has to start very, very early.
True.
While you're handing devices to children. It cannot suddenly one day come up and tell you कि अरे मेरा बच्चा टॉयलेट में फोन लेके जा रहा है, ये रात भर नींद उसको नहीं आ रही है, वो पिलो के नीचे फोन रख के सो रहा है. This doesn't happen all of a sudden. There are red flags need to be picked up early and interventions need to be taken as and when required. And the other thing is help is available. I think parents just don't realize that we need to seek help. क्योंकि हर चीज अपने से नहीं होती. There are places, there are people who are assigned to do certain things.
Sure.
And which is why seeking that kind of help is critical. Also, I feel talking to children about this really early, in terms of what games they play or involving with them while they're playing kind of games and getting some stories out of them. Because I realize when we speak to children in our sessions, kids tell us that children are engaging in a lot of activities that are not age appropriate. And these are points to pick up from. These are hints that children are giving us. At some point in time, we think we're unable to deal with it, but then let's reach out to help outside within the framework that we're not even outside that. Bringing me back to the question to you is, therefore, we're talking about game rating and what is the current situation in India when it comes to introducing games in the country or game rating for Indian children.
So from a game rating perspective, typically there are organizations like the RB and the PEGI which create game ratings based on age appropriate gaming content. And these are so far been predominantly for the Western international markets, or not the Western, but international markets. India has been following the PEGI rating system to a large extent. I'd say it's also, the industry is also working towards creating our own rating system, which again will be in sync with what the global standards are, because today the games are being published at a global level. The App Store and the Play Store have their own rating system also. So when I, as a game developer and a publisher, submit my game to the app stores, I need to choose certain parameters which will define the age rating of the game. So now to a global audience, and our own people are downloading global games, these ratings need to be aligned with the global gaming rating scenarios.
Absolutely. Very, very important for people viewing this to understand that there are game rating portal systems. And we, as the adult community or the parent community, need to be able to select those for our children. And that awareness and education needs to be built into the adults first. Children obviously are playing those games because they don't understand repercussions, or they don't understand the critical age appropriateness of particular platforms that they're using. And that's where the responsibility with the adult lies. But this entire world of designing, creation, and gaming is so exciting, because the moment we speak to children, I think everybody today aspires either to be a game developer or a game creator or a game story writer. So, what is this career all going to be about? And I would want Hemant and Ninad both to add in their inputs, but I would want Ninad to start with this.
Like I said, I mean, I used to love playing games while I was growing up. And while I was doing my BSc chemistry during my graduation days, creativity करने का कुछ कीड़ा जागा. And now back then I had no clue what I wanted to do. Right? I mean, कुछ करना है creativity में. So I went and got a form from the Film Institute Pune, FTI Pune, where they used to have a diploma course in motion picture cinematography and script writing.
Wow.
Again, I had no idea what I was going to do from there. But जिस दिन घर पे फॉर्म आया, जो डांट पड़ी है, because my father thought that I wanted to be a actor. तू हीरो बनेगा? Because I come from a family of academicians. So my father's side are all academicians. My kakas and my dad and my buas, everybody are postgraduates, PhDs in their own fields. My mother's side are all doctors. And even I grew up in an extended family. So my elder cousins, my elder brother, everybody were like merit list rankers, doing really good in academics. और ये एक बंदा आया कि भैया मैं जाऊंगा फिल्म इंस्टीट्यूट, क्यों मोशन पिक्चर सिनेमाटोग्राफी सीखूंगा, स्क्रिप्ट राइटिंग सीखूंगा, क्यों पता नहीं क्यों. So काफी सीन हो गया घर पे. And to the extent that my brother was doing his masters in the US at that point of time, and he called me and he said, hey, why, what do you want to do this? And I said, well, I'll figure out something. I mean, it's a 2-year course. कोर्स खत्म होते होते तो पता चल ही जाएगा क्या करना है मुझे उसमें. So तू एक काम कर, do your masters. I mean, ठीक है, study to take these 2 years, do your MSc, because my dad was very keen, and even both my parents were keen that I finish my post graduation. So they said, you do your MSc organic chemistry, and then by then figure out क्या करना है, parallelly do something as a side project. And that's how version 1.0, which Hitesh, who's the founder and CEO of Wits Interactive. So Hitesh and I have grown up together. We were in school and college together. And we started Wits कि मैं MSc कर रहा हूँ, वो engineering कर रहा था, तो चलो side में कुछ करते हैं. So we started building websites. But again, he used to do the work. I used to kind of try and make myself useful by creating designs for the websites. But in those 2 years of my post-graduation, I kind of realized that, okay, जो creative कुछ करना था was something in the digital space. In those days, digital was also a term which was not that commonly used. 95, 96 is a time frame when the internet was just getting introduced in India. So even when we started building websites, it was a tough thing to explain to clients what is a website. अच्छा वो brochure scan करके online डाल दोगे ना? मैंने कहा हाँ sir, brochure scan करके. So I also happened to meet another friend of mine who later on became the co-founder with me for India Games, Vishal. And we got into this whole idea of creating games meant for an Indian audience. The whole idea was,
wow.
In those days, Microsoft and Yahoo games were very popular. They had online games for bridge and chess, but nobody was making games for an Indian audience. So India Games came about because the initial vision was to create games which Indians could relate to. So we did games around Ramayana, where you had to shoot down Ravan's 10 heads, or one of the games which kind of really got us into the limelight, although it is a politically incorrect game, was during the Kargil war, where you were a soldier at the Indian border and you had to shoot down Pakistani soldiers. And in that you also
So
have Pakistan.
PUBG was there then also, a different version of PUBG. Yeah.
Action games have always been there. I mean, I got hooked onto games because of Doom, which was an
Oh,
action game, right? I mean, so Doom was an action game back then, which was very popular.
so how does a parent therefore channelize these energies? अगर आपको आपका बच्चा दिख रहा है कि इसमें बहुत माहिर है, so what does the parent do and when?
Interesting question. I know I'm going to have to answer that for myself very soon. I think the first thing that any parent can do, and not just related to gaming per se, but any career option that the child wants to pursue, is keep an open mind. Right? It all depends on having the confidence and the belief in your child that that child will be able to achieve whatever he or she is setting out to do. So having an open mind is really important. And it could be gaming, it could be fashion design, it could be acting, right? I mean, it could be wanting to become a cricketer and play for India. If you as a parent have that confidence and belief in your child and back him up, that would help the child have the confidence in himself or herself. Post that, yes, there are luckily and fortunately now there are a lot of avenues where the child can go and do courses. So there are colleges and there are institutes offering game design, game development courses. Back in my day, we had to learn everything the hard way, just by trial and error. If I like the game, I'll make that game. If I think the game is not fun, I will not make the game. So it was more of that. But now there are a lot of colleges, both in India and globally, where you get a structured approach to making games, right? And you need to understand what are your child's strengths and weaknesses. So not every child can become a game programmer, or just like not every child can become an engineer, or not every child can become a doctor.
Absolutely.
So gaming has various specializations. So you have a game designer who's the concept person who will create the base premise or the concept of the game and bring that game to life through a story or through a narrative. You have a game artist who will create the look and feel of the game. You have a programmer who will make those art characters come alive. You have QA, quality assurance people, who will make sure that the game is fun to play and free of all bugs. You have sound engineers. So there, it is pretty much, if I was to draw an analogy, it is similar to making a film, right? You have a director, you have a writer, you have an actor, you have an editor. Same way in gaming, you have these multiple people who work together to make a game which is fun and hopefully money making.
Wow, yeah. I think it is important to envision that, because it doesn't seem to be as easy as it looks, and there's a lot of effort that goes into creating that kind of content for anybody who's wanting to invest time and energy with that.
And again, So for that, awareness is also important, where the parents need to do a bit more of studying. So for example, if you want to put your child into an IIT or an engineering college or a medical college, you do go out and do your research that which is a better college, or which is likewise even for the gaming course, just do your research. I mean, there are quite a few institutes out there.
So now with the AR VR coming in, what is your take on the security element of it? Because I think that is somewhere that is lacking across verticals. And that is critical, because we are working in that space and we realize that is the least talked about or least thought about in terms of user base, so that comes on the least in the priority. What is your take on that?
So security is definitely really critical, especially when you play multiplayer games, for example, and not just in VR, right? I mean, it's not just virtual reality, but even when you're playing on your computer or your phone, especially now with voice-enabled games coming in, or where you have to even switch on your webcam to play games at times. So it becomes extremely important for the user, or if the user or the player is a minor, then for the parent in the house to make sure that all the relevant security measures are in place. It could mean not enabling the microphone function on a phone when the child is playing a game. It could mean putting a password lock. It could mean putting a time lock on your phone. So after a few minutes, it gets locked. The game kind of gets closed on its own. It could also mean not allowing access to microphone and camera even on a PC when kids are playing on the PC, kind of a thing, right? as game developers, as game publishers, we as an industry will take all possible precautionary measures to try and make sure that we give a safe environment for our players to play games. But at the end of the day, it's a piece of software, right? I mean, there are, and it's not just games. I mean, it is any software can potentially get hacked and can be misused. So even the user needs to be aware of the do's and don'ts when accessing a software and take all necessary precautions. It's like wearing a seatbelt when you drive a car. I mean, yes, the car manufacturer has given it, but if you don't wear it, then it's not really in your advantage, right? The airbag may or may not open, or may not, the car may not even have an airbag too. So it all depends. It's a two-way street. As a gaming industry, we will take care to make sure that the environment we provide to our players is a safe environment. But as gamers, the people playing the games also need to make sure that you need to have a safe environment around you.
Absolutely.
Because at the end of the day, digital is an extension of the real world environment, right? If you play a game, if you play outdoor games and you are amongst bad elements playing around you, you need to stay away from those bad elements. Likewise, even in the virtual world.
Absolutely. बहुत बहुत जरूरी बात पेरेंट्स के लिए that ये users जो होते हैं बच्चे, even if we as adults are introducing children to games, there are certain rules that you need to follow and set for your systems or devices before you introduce games to children, and these are very very critical for safety. तो ये पावर अपने बच्चों के पास होती है या अपने पास as parents होती है, जो अपने को यूज करना बहुत जरूरी होता है, बिकॉज प्लेटफॉर्म्स होते हैं इंटरैक्ट करने के लिए, पर कौन किस इंटेंशन से करता है अपने बच्चे से इंटरैक्ट, दैट इज समथिंग दैट वी आर नेवर अश्योर्ड ऑफ. इसीलिए उनको प्रिपेयर करना जरूरी है, एजुकेट करना होना और दूसरों को बच्चों को करना जरूरी है. It's been great fun, Ninad, always talking to you. I want to end this conversation with 5 critical tips that you would want to share with children or with parents on responsible gaming, so that we can use these as takeaways for them to follow.
So I think what can be done, like I mentioned, the whole idea of responsible gaming is to become actively involved in your child's activities, both in digital and physical world, right? So if you are overseeing your child's academic progress, make sure that you're also kind of involved with your child in the games he or she plays. Gaming per se is not bad. Everything has a good and bad side, right? It is how you kind of are involved in that, and the way you need to guide your child to play those games. Be an active participant rather than a passive commentator is what I would say.
I love that quote. I'm going to use it. Yeah.
Thank you. The other thing is, I mean, children will always emulate what they see, right? One of the points you mentioned during the conversation is mera bacha takiye ke niche phone rakh ke sota hai. Well, the child at some point has seen you do that in your own room, where you are also watching some series late in the night, and at the end you just put it below your pillow and go to bed. Well, the child is just doing what he or she has seen. So if you want your child to follow a certain example, well, try following those things first. So if you want to control your child's screen time, try to control your screen time. I know easier said than done, and I'm no saint to give this advice to either parents or kids, because I mean, I myself need to at times battle with the whole screen time thing with myself, binge watching too many shows. But we have the advantage of possibly the advantage of being a bit more mature. I would not say just because we are older in age does not mean we are mature. A lot of this, but the hindsight or the benefit of experience over the years should help us teach our kids to differentiate between right or wrong. And I think that doesn't just apply to gaming, but in all walks of life. We already are doing it in the non-gaming walk of life. I think we need to bring that as an extension and be a part of the child's gaming journey as well. Be a co-player rather than a competitor. And then it's going to be all fun and games at the end of it.
Fabulous. Wonderful takeaways for parents.
Thank you.
This has been so much fun, Ninad, and it's always been so much fun to interact with you and gain your insight. You bring in so much of optimism towards this entire online gaming fraternity, which is also making us hopeful that our kids are going to be in safer hands if they're using it responsibly. And I think it's also building in hope for the parent community where they're so skeptical about what their kids are getting into. So thanks for building on hope, and thanks for cheering them up in these times of distress. And thank you for joining us once again, Hemant and Ninad both, and sharing your thoughts with us. And we hope that you're safe and look after yourself. Thank
Always a
you.
pleasure, Sonali. Thank you for having me over here. And thank you, Hemant, for adding your insights as well. And like my t-shirt says, the perfect day is to just play video games. But at the same time, keep hydrated, do some
Yes.
exercise, uh, don't spend too much on screen time, stay home, stay safe, stay happy. Thank you.
Thank you,
Cool.
Nina. Cool. Very cool. Thank you.